Hello and welcome to the Punished for Protecting Live broadcast with your host, Francesca Amato, national expert in the Americans with Disabilities Act, domestic violence and child abuse advocate, best-selling author, and founder of Punished for Protecting Incorporated. We welcome all of our viewers watching on Facebook via Punished for Protecting News and the CPS News Network. If you're watching on YouTube at Punish No More and Free to Protect, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. You can also find Punish for Protecting News on Rumble. Now, without further ado, here is your host, Francesca Amato.
Welcome and good evening. First, before I even start, I just need to hear from the audience that you guys can hear me. So if someone could please just be so kind to let me know if you could hear me in comments. All righty. Thank you so much, everyone. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. You know, I don't want to start where you can't hear me. So welcome to tonight's broadcast, Punished for Protecting, this evening. We have a double show this evening. So first, I have this first broadcast tonight, which is regarding family victims of adoption, the false narrative, and that's tonight's program. And then after that, I don't want you to touch that dial, because I have Is MAGA Jackson, the secret son of Whitney Houston and Jermaine Jackson. Quite interesting. So it's going to be some night. So I appreciate you all here. Now, this story is about a beautiful family that I've gotten to spend many hours discussing this topic with and what they've been through. This is 10 years in the making of these two beautiful boys being adopted out, and their beautiful mom, Marla Miller. And these are her two precious sons. And Marla is a very happily married woman. She's a strong woman of faith. And I've been really blessed to get to meet her and know her. And without further ado, I'm going to bring Marla out, because this is, like I said, this has been 10 years of not being able to speak up for herself. Hi, good evening, Marla.
Hi. I can't hear you.
Can you guys hear Marla? I just want to check. Can you guys hear Marla? If you guys can just write it in the comments, please. Just waiting for one person to just let us know if you can hear Marla. Maybe you could just say one more thing like hello or something to the audience. Marla. Hi. Yes. Okay, great. So now we can actually begin. You know how it is, guys. You know how it is. But we already saw it before when we were just doing a sound check earlier. So thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys all for being here. So Marla, this goes back 10 years ago. What happened? I reached out to your sister, actually, who adopted your boys, and she did not respond at all. I reached out to her a couple times and no response whatsoever, because I wanted to see if she wanted to come join us this evening and do part of this interview and discuss her side of it, but she did not want to. So Marla, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how this started initially?
Well, it was back in 2012. I was going through a really bad divorce, and I had got a full-time job, and I had asked her to babysit, and she agreed. She told me she would do she'd babysit Monday through Friday. I could have my kids the weekends because it would be easier on the boys. So I left the boys there. I went to pick them up Friday. She told me if I took them, she wasn't going to watch them anymore. So, you know, being from a sheltered upbringing, I didn't have anybody to actually, I didn't know who else to ask to babysit, so I left him there. So then I left him there, and the bullying started from week 1. And it just got worse. Like, my son fell out of her sink, he broke his arm. Then they started pushing for legal guardianship. It went from them agreeing to babysit to pushing for legal guardianship to, what do you think about us adopting them? And I said, no, like, they're my boys. And she's like, yeah, but they'll always be your boys. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And then she's like, well, they need a mom and a dad. I'm like, they do got a mom and a dad. And then she's like, they need stability. And I'm like, okay, I get that. Like, so I was like, yeah, I agree. So I left him there. And so then I'm like all over the place because
No, you're fine. You're fine. So basically, you were working a lot, though, trying to support the boys, and so she was babysitting, and lo and behold, she was just trying to adopt them, trying to take them from you, for no actual valid reasons other than the fact that you needed her help as a sister family.
yeah, yeah. So basically, when it came down to them needing stability to trying to get me to agree to letting them adopt, she was like, if you don't let us adopt, we're going to give them back to your ex. And I'm like, he can't have them, because at that point I was receiving suicide text messages like, oh, I'm just going to go kill myself, or you know, he had pulled a gun on me, he was abusive, you know, he has domestic violence, police had came out, you know, just stupid stuff. And I was like, he can't have them. And she's like, well, it's either you let us adopt or we're going to give them to him. And I'm like, at that point, I was kind of couch surfing. So I was like, well, he can't have them. And I was like, you know, I didn't know what else to do. Um, so, you know, they promised everything, you know, open adoption. I could have pictures with them, spend birthday parties, get them gifts, 100% involvement, but they would just give them stability. And I was like, okay, well, I think I could deal with that. Well,
So your understanding, your understanding was, this is your family, this is your sister. So your understanding is that she would never take your children. Give us a moment. Okay. So your understanding is she would never take your children away from you. This is your family. Did you ever know your sister prior to all of this to do anything underhanded to you as your blood sister?
yes, sort of, just from like losing friends. You know, like growing up, like I had got sent off in different places and stuff just because of the church and stuff. So like just from being gone and coming back, like, and my best friend turning against me because of what she said, like I knew that there was something there, but like I never thought she would actually do this, you know. Um, you know, because if you're raised that way, you know, you wouldn't do that, you know. But I was wrong. As soon as she got them, she basically had every excuse in the books. Every time I'd ask come see the boys, she would make excuses. They were busy, they're with friends, they're going camping, or, you know, just any excuse to not let me come around. I've never left with them. I never got to take them out for ice cream. I've never been invited to a birthday party. If I get them a gift, you're trying to buy their love. Um, I got to literally beg for pictures. I'm not allowed pictures with them. That's why I had to Photoshop this picture. Um, I took her Facebook family photo and I put my boys in my family photo because I don't have no pictures with all my kids in it. So, you know, she found out about that. She wasn't too happy. And yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask the audience, if you guys have questions, feel free to put them in comments. I'll be happy to try to read some of them to ask Marla. Marla, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show some of these photographs, and maybe you can explain them. But how old were the boys when she adopted them from you?
Well, they were 1 and 2 when I dropped them off. So they would have just turned 2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay, so this is the photo that you're talking about. I have it up on the screen. So here's your husband and yourself, and then your 2 children.
That's my sister and her husband.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I see what you did. You added.
I took their family photo and I put them in my.
I understand. Okay, so that's your sister and husband, and then those are your 2 boys on either side in the burgundy matching shirts, and then those are her 2 children in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have this one. You want to explain that one?
That is sorry. That is me with our 3 photos that I have here with me.
Okay, and then we have this one.
That's the 3 kids I have here with me. And that's my Photoshop picture. I can't hear you, Francesca.
Okay, and then your husband and your children, and then your boys now. And how old are they here?
I don't know how old they were in that picture, but they're 11 and 12 now.
11 and 12. Okay, and now you have this one.
And that's the day that I was promised everything and we successfully.
That was the day.
Yes.
Wow, I tell you. So what had transpired? How soon did you start? Like right away you saw that as soon as you signed adoption papers to her? You signed off?
Yeah, pretty much within like a month. Like what happened was I had signed the paper for them to go ahead with their thing. It was May 1st of 2013, and May 9th, my divorce was finalized. And so then May 15th, I found out that my ex was going to go to jail for statutory rape. And so I was like, dude, I could have had my boys. Like, she couldn't even give them to him, like all this stuff was going through my head. And I was like, and she's like, well, the paper's already signed. You can't do nothing about it. And so then later I find out that instead of doing an open adoption, they did a closed adoption. And we made sure there's no loopholes. You can't get them back. Like just the remarks she'd, randomly make, like she'd tell me of other incidents and stuff and like how stupid it is. And I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me? Like you just did that to me and you're saying how stupid it is for that person to do that when you did the same thing. Like it was the other thing she would say to me is like, well, we always wanted 4 kids, now we got our 4 kids. And I'm just like, you don't say that to a birth mom. You don't and then with the agreement of her taking them and me having everything that was agreed on, I was to agree on never to have a conversation with my boys on why they were there. So I'm like, why? Like, why? Obviously, you're guilty that you don't want them to know why they're there. You bullied me, so you want to look good, but you don't want me to tell them that you're a bully.
So Marla, so I have a question. So what you signed though, did you have a lawyer present or anyone guide you through what you were signing? Did you understand what you were signing? And I know this is a bunch of questions at once, but did you all the things that she's withholding from you and all the lies she told you, was that in the document that you signed?
No, there was nothing wrote up. It was basically signing off my rights and agreeing to her to take them just because. But it was like kind of oddly represented. There was a notary there, but like that was it. There was nothing else. And like the paper that I've showed it to a few people, and they said that was just wrong of them to write it up that way. Like it was evil behind it just because of how they worded it, and like they didn't want to give you any other option. They just wanted you to cut the cold turkey, like and walk away. They didn't want to give you any other option. And with what I had gone through up to that point, like I was already emotionally and like very damaged because of what I had went through in my life to that point. So, trying to heal from that to going through an abusive relationship to trying to work full time and to provide for 2 boys, it was like I didn't, quite really understand it, but like, I was like, well, if I'm going to have a 100% relationship, like I think I can do this, you know? And so that's what happened. And then she just kicked me to the curb.
American Amy is asking you, who helped her with it? Who helped the sister of lawyer? Who is DCF is DCF involved too? So it's a couple. She's asking who helped. I assume she's asking who helped your sister. Was it a lawyer? And then is DCF involved in this at all?
Okay, so basically, he had a lawyer, but no, DCS was not involved. There was just you know, I don't know everything that went on, obviously, into that lawyer's conversation with them, but like what I have heard, basically they went in making me look like a monster, that I didn't want my boys. I was choosing men over them. I was abusive. All my kids have different dads, and basically painted me to be a monster. So the lawyer's like, all right, well, let's write this up and let's get her out of here. Like that's my take on it.
Right, which is not true, and not even in the closest. You're married now, and you were married then, and that's it. And there was no men involved in this. You wanted your children. You were just trying to work, and you were going through a very traumatic and stressful time, going through a divorce. He was highly abusive, and you thought you had your family as support. Like this was family that you thought was literally support, and her goal was to have her own family with your children.
Yeah, so like basically, like I don't have nothing on me.
I'm just pointing at Amy's her message. She's saying this contract might not even be right. It's not right. It's not correct. She said, I would love to see it and have you see it, Fran. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go.
I was like, what am I supposed to mute it? But
No, sometimes I acknowledge the audience when they say something I like, and I'll point. So that's okay. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. So basically, like, like I don't really, the only thing they have against me is time, like they've had them 10 years versus, I don't even know who they are because I wasn't allowed to actually, interact with them. Like, I don't know their personalities. I don't know nothing, and I've, it's been crazy. Like, I went to my sister 2 years ago and I said, look, I'm really struggling with this. I'm not asking to take them because this is what they know as home. I'm asking for a relationship. And she's like, well, I'm sure it's hard. And I said, it is really hard. I said, imagine me taking my boys back and then let me take your 2 kids home with me. And then we can talk. I'll let you see them when I decide to. And she laughed at me and said, that's not going to happen. And she said she'd try to be more intentional. And she hasn't invited me out since, up until a few weeks ago. So I was like, okay. So that was 2 years ago that I had confronted.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. I just want to just bring this picture back up again because I know you added in your boys, and I just want the audience to see Marla and her husband and their 4 children, right? I see 4 children, so it would be a total of 6. Is that a yes?
The one in the blue is his daughter from the previous marriage. And then the 3.
So the Brady Bunch here. So, but I mean, you can see everybody. You can see this is a absolutely beautiful family. Okay, and it's very, very heartbreaking. Sierra is saying you trusted your village, your family would help you to protect your children, and instead you were taken advantage of. I agree. I completely agree with that. And how do you feel about that?
Absolutely. I never dreamed it was going to come to this. That is why I actually contacted a lawyer recently to write up a will, because I was not going to, like, if something happens to me or my husband, I'm like, my family cannot have access to my kids. Like, they cannot have my kids because they'll brainwash them, or, just because of that other situation. And now that I'm speaking up, my family, like my mom and few family members are just like, well, yeah, you're the mom, you should have them, but we want to stay out of it. Like, they don't support me though. Or they go around and just, put me down, to other people and stuff, make me to look like a monster. And I called out a few things, but I had contacted a lawyer and I was supposed to go in on June 13th, and my son had 104 fever, so I had to cancel. And then I'm telling you, it's all God. Because Wednesday, Francesca got to do a phone call with my sister, which she didn't answer. And
we're going to hold off on that after this quick commercial. We're going to find out what happened with her sister. So if you guys don't mind, we will be right back.
We'll be right back after a message from Punished for Protecting Incorporated. Each new generation of protective mothers is shocked when they first go to family court and find it doesn't favor single mothers and is willing to jeopardize children. Francesca's harrowing experience with the broken family court system, from which she finally received justice after 8 months of struggle, is proof that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Francesca has one of these unspeakably cruel cases and has responded by shining a large spotlight on widespread failures so other mothers won't be shocked. Punished for Protecting the Injustice System of Family Court by Francesca Amato Banfield, advocate, mother, whistleblower, founder, and TV talk show host of Punished for Protecting. If you are struggling with injustices wrought by our courts, this book will help guide you through the process. Available on Amazon.com. Search Punished for Protecting and get your copy today. Help abolish family court by purchasing Punished for Protecting merchandise. Here are our top sellers. See the link in the YouTube video description to find out how to get your Punished for Protecting t-shirt. Get your high-quality Punished for Protecting t-shirt while supplies last and let everyone know that you stand for justice. Are you being re-victimized by the family court system? Do you need help with your case? Go online and book a talk with Francesca. Go to punished4beingAparent.com/book-a-talk. Fill in your name, email address, and message to Francesca. Someone will get back to you within 24 hours. Francesca and her staff of volunteers continue to work tirelessly every single day for parents and children who are in need of their help. There have been multiple success stories, including Francesca's, which gives hope to others in similar situations. Punished for Protecting Incorporated has incurred out-of-pocket expenses with zero funding to help families get their children back or to save their children from being taken. We also have provided funds to help with retainers, food, lodging, and travel. We really need your help so we can continue to provide our many services. Any amount is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to donate or sponsor a family in need of help, go to Cash App, Free the Children. And now back to our broadcast.
Well, I also would just like to let everybody know that we're doing a new program, both Cindy and myself, and you guys have met Cindy a few times. She's my assistant producer. It's called Awakened with Francesca and Cindy, No Coffee Needed. So that program will be airing. We will be doing our first broadcast very soon. So keep on the lookout on all my social media pages so that you can not miss an episode. You're going to love it. I promise you. We're talking about all kinds of things like narcissism and what's happening in our country, and just to be awake to the fact of everything that's happening around us, to be aware. Another program I want to recommend too is Live Free with Cindy Lee. She has a nice new platform on YouTube and Rumble, and her page Live Free with Cindy Lee on Facebook. So please don't forget to join that. This evening, we have another show directly following this one, and it's Whitney Houston and Jermaine Jackson's Secret Son is Revealed. So that's going to be pretty interesting at 7 p.m. So back to Marla. Marla, this is the moment that people were kind of waiting for. So I called your sister twice. I left 2 messages. One, I want to say over a month ago, and one just a few days ago, right? And asked her if she wanted to come on the program and hear her side, in which she refused. However, after the first phone call, what happened? You haven't seen your boys in over 2 years, right? You hadn't seen them.
I didn't see Mother's Day last year, and then I seen him about 2 weeks.
And what happened after I made that phone call to her the first time?
So basically, my son had got sick, so I had to reschedule. And then June 15th is when Francesca called her, and she didn't answer, so she got a voicemail. Then fast forward to Monday when I went in, I took all 3 of my kiddos, and I was like, come on, guys, like, please be good. And I'm sitting there, and this lawyer comes in, and he's like, oh my, what a beautiful bunch of kids you have. They're so well behaved. And I'm like, thank you. And anyhow, so he's like, oh, Will, huh? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm not gonna let my family have access to these kiddos because of what happened. And I told him the situation, and he's like, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I said, it's okay. I said, I hired somebody, and I will have my voice back. And he's like, well, good luck with that. And I said, thank you. And he starts writing everything down, and he gets to the kids' names, and I told him my son's name, and he's like, and he starts stuttering, and he's like, did you say Zimmerman and Cable? And I said, yeah, I did. And he's like, can you excuse me? And I said, sure. So he leaves the room, he comes back in, and he's like stuttering, and he's like, I can't write this up for you. He's like, I'm the lawyer that did the paperwork for your sister. And he's like, and did you say you're coming against me? And I said, that's correct. And he's like, well, I can't help you. And I left the office, and an hour and 45 minutes later, my sister's calling me. After the fact, a month before, my husband got a phone call from her husband and was saying how I hurt their feelings by sharing my story on Facebook, and how they're going to get a restraining order on me, and they feel sorry for me, and Marla's not going to get what Marla wants, and all these threats. And I get this phone call. I'm standing in line getting a coffee, and I'm like, dude, I was like freaking out, because I was like, I did not want to talk to her, because every time she calls me, she tries to back me in a corner and bully me to get me back down to where she needs me so she can go on her happy little way. So I answered, and she's like, hey, how are you doing? And I said, I'm good. How are you? And she's like, oh, we're good. I was wondering, would you want to come out swimming like Wednesday or Thursday? Like, please look at your schedule. You're welcome here anytime. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Your husband just threatened a restraining order like a month ago, and now I'm welcome at like anytime I want. Like, are you serious? And I was like, okay. I got like 10 legs to stand on over here. I feel like they don't got no legs to stand on. They're on their kneecaps or something. I don't know. But like, I was just like, okay. So I texted her the next day, and I said, I think Thursday will suit me. She's like, oh, well, mom's coming that day. And I said, so then what? I got to pick another day? And then she's like, oh, no, come for lunch. And I said, okay. So the next day, Thursday, I get up, and I'm just taking my pokey time, and she calls me like at 10:30. She's like, where are you at? And I said, I'm sitting here. She's like, well, I figured you'd be here already. I said, it's not lunchtime yet. Like, you invited me for lunch. I'm not going to jeopardize this. I'll show up 15 minutes before lunchtime. I'm not going to overstay, you know? And I get there and the door is flung wide open and it's like an over smothering peachiness. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like I sat in my car for like 2 minutes and I go in the house and there's just compliments coming out like left and right. Like, oh, she did such a good job. Did you see this? Oh my goodness. Like, it was just so much nonsense. And I'm just like, okay, this is pathetic, you know? And like, you could tell like everything was staged. Like, you know, those boys were coached on what they can and can't say or what they can and can't do. And, you know, like, we had lunch and, you know, like she was off talking to one of them and watching the other one. And as soon as they got done eating lunch, like, oh, do you want to go with dad still? Oh, they always go with their dad. They always beg to go with their dad. And she like had to say it like 6 times, like to try to convince me that that's what they wanted to do. And she's standing in the corner of her kitchen and Brandon's on this side, Colton's on this side. And she hands her phone to Colton and he takes it and he's just like, hey dad, can you come pick us up? Like, there was nothing like there, you know, when my son calls his dad, he's like, hey dad, when are you gonna be home? Can you come get me? Like, he's all excited. And it was just like all monotone. Anyhow, he's sitting there and my sister looks at him and is like, oh, is dad cracking jokes? And he's not even laughing. It was just he was just sitting there. He's like, no. And then he gives her the phone back and, oh, he's at a restaurant. And that was it. It was so dead and so fake. And, you know, oh, well, you know, they always go with their dad. They always, you know, and I'm just like, you can just shut up already. And then, like, I was kind of like in a kind of bad mood just because, like, I didn't know what to expect. And, like, all the stuff that my family has said about me and my mom and my other sister were all there. And I knew they're all against me and about me trying to get my boys back, you know. And I was like, okay, there's 3 against 1 here. And I was just kind of in a bad mood. And so they're like, oh, are you going to swim? And I said, no, I'm just going to watch. And she's like, well, why should I invite you out here if you're not going to swim? And I'm just like, whatever. I go out there and they're taking the pool cover off. So I raised my phone up and I took a picture and she yells at me. After all this peachiness, her still old self just popped right out. She yelled at me and I was like, dude, there's nobody even in the pool. Like, why are you yelling at me for, you know? And then she's came up there and she's like, I invited you out to swim, not to be on your phone all day. And I'm just like, whatever. So finally I did.
So she thinks she has this like authority over you or something. She thinks she has this like control over you. I mean, and first of all, she invited you for lunch. I never heard swimming added to the lunch, but unless it was a swimming lunch.
Yeah, so it was just kind of crazy. And then I left out there and I came home and she texted me. She's like, I hope you enjoyed today. Thanks for the whoopie pies. And I'm just like, ignore. So the next day I said, I'm going to see how far her peachiness goes. I'm sorry, my words are just kind of whatever. But I was like, I'm going to see how far this goes. So I texted her and I said, hey, I want to take the boys out for ice cream. I said, would today at 4 suit or Sunday at 3? That way I gave her 2 options. That way she can't say, well, tonight don't suit. Or, you know, it gave her 2 options. And she texts back within like 20 seconds. She's like, no. I'm like, yep, 10 years of no. Like, you know, people are like, well, why don't you do a phone call? Yes, she is. She has to be. Like, I've freaking tried to rack my brain, like, why she would do that to me. Like, obviously, I spoke up against one other family member because it was a bunch of stuff going on that shouldn't have went on. And so I spoke up about it. And I feel that sister, like, this is just my thoughts because, you know, I tried to rack my brain around it. So, like, I'm like, well, since I spoke up about this sister's husband, you know, I feel that sister and the sister that has my boys kind of got together like, hey, you know, for her speaking up and making us look bad, which was bad, but it was the truth. You know, let's take her boys away and use them. Let's keep them from her as a get back at her type thing, or because as soon as I got pregnant with our daughter, this one, my mom was like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell your brother that you're having another baby. Maybe he could take this one and raise it." I'm like, "What the heck? Like, you think I'm some type of baby making machine? Like, no." So I was like mad, like, and so that didn't happen. And my sister that I spoke up about, like the other, her husband, whatever, um, she had been all buddy buddy with me, and she's like, "Hey, you should move in with us, and I'll babysit for you, and you can go to work." And I'm like, this is all making sense. That's why I'm like, trying to like figure this out. It's like, it sounds to me like they had their heads together into doing this to me. And then next I got pregnant with this one, and I get a call from Pennsylvania, and it's an older couple that I used to live with out there, and she's like, "Hey," she's like, "I heard you're gonna have another baby." She's like, "We know somebody that love to take it and raise it for you." And I said, "Excuse me, like, I have a 2-year-old, and I'm gonna be having another baby any day." She's like, "Oh, you have a 2-year-old?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, I'll call you back after the baby's born," and she's never called me back. So
I
like,
mean, these people are crazy. They're absolutely insane, and it's really sad to hear this whole thing. I mean, I know that, you told me the story, but I'm saying, like, just to even hear it in this context, and how she's related to you after these phone calls to her, and the fact that she's trying to smooth you when her true self shows who she really is. She's not a nice person, obviously. I'm curious about something. I knew you guys grew up in the Amish. Yeah, Tammy, you did miss a lot. You're gonna have to go back and watch it, but we have a back to back on at 7, so you have to watch it later. But um, did she grow up in the faith at all? Like, like, what is her heart? Because it doesn't seem like she's very, she's concerned about God at all. Like, to do something like this, it's just.
we grew up in the Mennonite church. So, um,
Sorry, I said Amish. I'm sorry, Mennonite. I was thinking of Malin and.
it's very similar. But no, it was Mennonite. But like the other thing was, back in the day when I was like 16, 17, now 17, I had came back from, being sent off to counseling and being doped up and on all these meds to being told to shut up. So, I think I had shared those pictures with you as well. Like, it's sickening. But like with that happening, like I had a vision one night, and it was God, and like I was being blamed for everything that I'd spoke up about, and like by the church, the Mennonites, like it was all my fault. And one night, like it was a bright light, and it was all white, and our Jesus standing there with his hands out, and he's like, everything's gonna be okay. I got you. And I could see his nail prints, and he pulled back his robe, and I could see like where his side was pierced. And so like when I came home, I on my signature for my text message, I put God's girl down because I had witnessed that, and she had the nerve to text me. She's like, "God's girl, huh? You're not God's girl." And so like I don't know where her heart's at. Like that still haunts me to this day, just knowing that she has my boys and she had the nerve to say that to me back then. So like, I mean, I don't want to judge her because, like that's not for me to do. But like that really hurt, just going
Well,
through.
well, I mean, the Bible says that we know them by their fruit. So this is not very good fruit. So, you know, it's kind of obvious. I mean, in the Bible, there's places where we're supposed to judge certain things and have discernment about certain things, and I'm not seeing the fruit there. So you have nothing to hide. You'd be on this interview right now. You'd be explaining your reasons. But to do what she's done, I mean, first of all, what's Christ like about stealing your sister's children, and then lying about what you would be having? You would have unlimited access to your kids, and you have no access to your children. That's not a godly fruit. Where's that a god? That's a sneaky, manipulative. That sounds like the other guy, the one down there. So I mean,
Absolutely. Like I just don't know where, like I try to be, I've been patient, I've been respectful, I've been, like I try to talk with her. Like I didn't want to blast them because like obviously that's not who I am. But like at the same time, it's like, just give me my voice back. Like, if, like, like I told a few people, I was like, if I was a piece of crap mom and not like, um, let's say I was doing really stupid stuff and abusing those boys and, let's say throwing them around like a sack of potatoes, and hurting them, then I could say, you know what, I was mean to them back then. I don't deserve them. They're better off without me, and just move on with it. But I'm like, I have nothing on me. Like, there's nothing. So I can't just keep walking away.
No, and you're not going to walk away. And with God's help and grace, this is going to see to the, well, he'll see you to the end, and I'm here to help you. So,
Yeah.
Basically, she asked her sister to babysit for her. Oh, thank you, Amy. She's given Tammy the the beginning. And for anybody that's just tuned in, and she was going through a divorce, and she was working, and her sister told her to sign custody to her. Very sad. Jody said, time to stop being nice to evil. Sometimes you got to give them a taste of their own medicine. Yeah. So Marla, we're kind of getting to the end of the wrap up because we do have a second show and it's going to be a hard stop tonight. Is there anything else you'd like to add this evening that you'd like to say that maybe you didn't get a chance to say, or anything at all?
No, not really. I just want my boys back. I just want them to do it the easy way instead of going the hard way. Just because, I'd rather just take them and walk away, no hard feelings. Or, if they want to battle it out, then they can have what's coming.
I just want to respond to this one. Is your sister unable to have her own children? So Marla was saying, if you look at the picture, I'm sorry, there in the photograph there, that's Marla's family. The two boys in the purple or maroon, they're her boys also. If you look here at her sister always wanted to have 4 children. So what Marla did is she photoshopped a photo because she didn't even get photos of her kids. So this is the original picture with Marla's sister, her husband, and their 2 kids. And her sister always wanted 4. So she figured stealing her sister's children was the way to do that. And so this is the photograph where Marla photoshopped it, which I think is, you did great, by the way. And this is Marla's family, and then Marla's 2 boys. She photoshopped them in. So we're just waiting, and we're believing for this to be. Thank you so much, American Amy. So are you. We're believing for a very good turnout, and Soraya said, thank you for sharing your story with all of us. I'm praying for your family, and you will get your boys back soon. So, and that's beautiful. And yes, we are all praying people here. So, these are definitely tough cases, but God wins every time. And sometimes people get so upset in the midst, and I get it because I've been there. But I got to tell you, God wins every single time. Don't mess with him. Like, don't mess with him. You're foolish to do that. You're foolish to do that. So, Marla, thank you so much for telling your story to the world. We really appreciate it. And I'm glad you got to have your voice. Purple Haze said, if she was my sis, I'd go crazy. I'd have been choking somebody. Lord have mercy. Yeah. Yeah. We'll call on his mercy for sure. So I'm glad you got to have your voice finally. And obviously there's a whole lot more to come with this, Marla, because yes, default is all I have to say. And under a time of duress, that's all I'm going to say about that. That's all that needs to be said right now. And that's why that lawyer ran to her. So we'll keep it at that. We'll keep it at that. Again, thank you so much for being on, and thank you everyone for watching this evening. We really appreciate having you guys. Please share this like crazy, and remember, do not take pieces from my videos. You can share them wholly as much as you want, but if you have your own broadcast and you would like to talk about any of my programmings, just come to me, and if you get my express permission in writing, then you're allowed to. So God bless everyone, and thank you so much again, Marla.
Yeah, thank you.